What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Bad Religion. And I'm going to start reacting to a Bad Religion album I haven't yet reacted to any songs from. We're talking No Substance. This is originally on Atlantic Records, but this is a reissue from 2015, and it's now on the Epitaph catalog. So yeah, this was during the period where Brett had left the group to sort of, number one, focus on Epitaph, which had blown up because of bands like The Offspring and I think Rancid. I don't remember, is Rancid on? No, they're on Hellcat, but I think Brett is involved in Hellcat too. But bottom line, The Offspring were definitely on Epitaph, and they blew up in terms of like mainstream popularity, and that made Epitaph sort of blow up. But yeah, he was also, from what I understand, dealing with his sort of personal issues and like most specifically his struggles with addiction. But yeah, bottom line, this is the last, or wait, no, sorry, it's this album, and then it's The New America, and then Process of Belief when Brett rejoined and they returned to Epitaph in the original sort of timeline. Like I said, this was originally on Atlantic, but this is an Epitaph reissue. Nevertheless, I'm going to go through this album in order except for the first song. The first song we're going to listen to is Sowing the Seeds of Utopia. I remember when I first heard this album, it was the song that really stood out to me the most. Number one, I think it just has a good sort of Bad Religion sound in terms of the sonics. Number two, I think I think Greg has a really, his voice sounds very melodic and sonorous in this song. It's a very melodic Bad Religion song. And then thirdly, like with most Bad Religion songs, I do enjoy the lyrics. And again, it's interesting, I mentioned before, to me, the sort of real essence of Bad Religion and their songwriting is when Brett and Greg are both writing songs on the same album, but obviously during this period the vast majority of the material is written by Greg. I do think there's a couple songs that were written, at least in part, by other people in the band. I think Bentley had a song during this period. But yeah, bottom line, most of the material, including this song, is written by Greg. And yeah, we're going to listen to Sowing the Seeds of Utopia. This is a song which is about, politicians. It's specifically addressed to politicians, and it's speaking to the way in which, you know, and again, it's another song that it was relevant then, it was probably relevant before it was written, and it's, if anything, like equally, if not more relevant now. But they're talking about how politicians always talk about they're going to do everything perfectly. They're going to, you know, stop all the problems. They're going to create all the good benefits and the sort of, you know, all the things that people want, they're going to give to them. So they promise this sort of utopian vision, but often what happens is once they're in office, you know, they don't really remember that, like, you actually have to go out and, you know, do the work, and you have to be willing to help people, and you can't view everything as this sort of partisan game. And so they often forget, do these politicians once in office, that you need to reach out to people, you need to make connections, you need to build things that are positive and not just, you know, shout rhetoric and ultimately, again, like, promise visions of utopia, but then deliver this very self-serving, corrupt, and self-enriching sort of status or position that they then inhabit. And it's also saying that, like, you know, they make these promises and then they only go halfway there. They go as far as they have to go to, like, sort of make it seem like they're doing what they said they were doing, but still holding back enough to, you know, retain their influence and to perhaps pad the pockets of their cronies and so on. So it's a critique of sort of like the elite political class, but it's also, I think, a shot at more cynical politicians. Again, like, I don't think this is a shot at politicians per se, but politicians that, again, favor rhetoric and division over a genuine attempt to improve society and leave society in a better position for the next generation. Because there's actually a line about that, like, you know, you've forgotten how to help, like, try to put things together enough that will let the next generation make at least a little sense of, you know, how to run the world and so on. So yeah, it's a shot at politicians, specifically those who either, you know, from their very mental outset at the beginning, or perhaps through sort of like increasingly jaded and, you know, bitter, cynical attitudes, become sort of disconnected from the very people they're supposed to be serving and helping improve the world for. So In any case, let's get it. This is Bad Religion from the album No Substance, and the song is Sowing the Seeds of Utopia. Tempo shift. Popular psychological podium. Bad Religion guitar section. And then Greg really comes in melodic. Forgot what it was all about. Like, supposedly, if you get into public service, it's about improving the world and trying to, bring about the best for the most amount of people and so on. And then a lot of people get into that position, and it gets totally warped. They forget that it's not about helping people. It's about, again, like padding their own pockets or sort of like exerting their populist control through like rhetorical public statements and so on. And there's just this disconnect between the people and their supposed representatives. So yeah, bottom line, I enjoy the tune. Again, it's one of those things where like, the way that you can interpret the song like over time, like it's in some ways like, again, even more relevant now, and then in another way it's like it's such a different world in which they were singing this in 1998 versus 2022. But bottom line, like I said, I think that's maybe my favorite song on the album, as I'm going to do with the rest of the albums that are remaining to go through, most of which are like either post-2000 or again like Atlantic era and later. I'm going to continue to go through those in a more like chronological order just to kind of keep things organized. I mentioned before, it's just easier so I don't have to figure out, wait, have I done this before, like so on. Like when I go through an album chronologically, it just helps to sort of keep everything in the front view screen. But like I said, do let me know if there's a song on this album or any of the albums that I'm just now going to start going through more, like True North, Descent of Man, Age of Unreason, and so on, that you're particularly looking forward to. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.